Hello, everyone from Chelsea Fan TV. I hope you're all doing very, very well and enjoying your Wednesdays. It is a Wednesday evening show for you guys, 9:30, a little bit later than usual, but I'm trying my best. I am trying my best. Okay. I don't want to let you down. As many shows as I can do, I will do. We'll have more regular shows coming up as well. So I will be back tomorrow at lunchtime, but no evening show because we're playing Tottenham, aren't we? So we'll be doing a Tottenham preview tomorrow at lunch. We will obviously touch on the Tottenham game, but we're also going to speak about the striker situation because that is something that everyone wants to talk about, but nobody wants to talk about at the same time. Now, when we look at Chelsea and we converse, we talk about all the problems that Chelsea have and where can we find a solution. Two positions come to the play. The first one is the striker, and the second one is you'd probably say a centre-back, maybe even a left-back, you could argue as well. Now, I totally agree that we need a striker. We all agree, but we don't necessarily agree on who we should get or who we will get. And I'm very much of the sense right now of who Chelsea will get. Because we can dream all we want, okay? We can dream all we want. I know Ipswich did pretty well. Last time I checked, they were 2-0 up against Bournemouth. Did they end up winning that game? I'm not even sure. Let me know, guys. In fact, I'll double check that now. I know Delap actually scored a goal in that game. Let's have a look. Who won? It's not over by the looks of it, because the only score that's up is the Man City score. Fixtures. Yeah, it's still going. It's 2-1 to Ipswich. Villa up. Oh, okay. Oh, actually, this is interesting. Some of these results are relevant, so let's bring them up, shall we? 2-1 to Ipswich. That's good for us against Bournemouth. Villa beating Brighton. Ideally, you'd want a draw in that game. Newcastle beating Brentford. That's not good for us. Southampton 1-1 Palace. Liverpool 1-0 against Everton in the Merseyside derby as well. It feels like only yesterday that they already had the Merseyside derby at Everton. So yeah, that's what's going on there. Big up to everyone that's watching. Smash the like button as well if you haven't already. Subscribe to the channel. We've got over 25 of you in here. Let's get straight up to 25 likes. Smash that like button. Let me know how many we're on as well. Big up to Daniel. Big up to Jordan as well. Lavia is made out of cotton wool. We will be talking about Lavia, of course. Beto looks like one hell of a number 9. He's been good under David Moyes, that's for sure, though it doesn't look like he's scored today. Evening, Tom. Hopefully Jackson, Madueke and Palmer are on the starting lineup tomorrow, and we give out the usual Tottenham battery. Listen, mate, I'm here for it. I'm praying for it. I'm hoping for it. Get Gorkarez and play Jackson off the left. Do we agree with that one, guys? Jonathan David on a free and Delap for me will be realistic. Alex, I think you share the same mindset as myself. 2-1 against Tottenham, we're saying. Oh, we'll talk about the Ipswich game. If Ipswich get relegated, the Delap release clause will be 40 million. Newcastle winning, knocking us down to 6th. Yeah, I mean, this is the thing, guys, isn't it? We look a lot at the table. We talk about the table as well. I'm just going to presume that those results are set in stone. Where does that leave Chelsea? Where does that leave us? That leaves us in the magical place. And I've been saying this, guys. I've been saying we shouldn't be comfortable because we are not in a comfortable position, okay? This is where we are at, guys. This is the live league table as it stands, presuming that the scores I mentioned don't change. Liverpool first, running away with it. Arsenal on 61. Nottingham Forest 57. City on 51 points in 4th, and you got Newcastle on 50. Chelsea on Chelsea on 49 points. Villa on 48. Brighton on 47. So I said this, guys, a couple of results can change everything. Now, presuming we beat Tottenham, the usual battering, the usual win, isn't it? It's not exactly something brand new, is it? That would put us ahead of Newcastle. That would put us ahead of. Would that put us on par with Man City? Yeah, that would put us ahead of Man City as well, because we'd have a better goal difference than them, providing that we, if we win by 2 or more goals, then we'll definitely be ahead of Man City. So, listen, we're in control as it stands. We are in control right now. But let's... No, they don't have a game in hand. Newcastle are on... oh, fuck. I see what you mean. Well, presuming Newcastle lose their next game, then let's just say that. If we win, we'll still be above Man City, and we can go ahead of Newcastle as well. Oh, God. It's tighter than you think. This is the thing. It's actually tighter than you'd realise. Big up to Liam Delap as well, scoring a nice goal for Ipswich. For those of you who haven't seen the goal, let's get a little cheeky replay of that. Share this tab. Here we go. This is the goal. Delap smashing it into the back of the net. Nice little goal, that, isn't it? Good little bit of link up. He was the one who originally had the ball. Passed it on, got into the right position. Bang. That's a top finish. That's a confident finish as well for a player. You know, this is one thing as well that I love in a striker, is the ability to just hit the ball. Jackson doesn't finish the ball like that. He takes a touch. That's what we're used to. But it's nice to see him taking it first time as well. Just smash it in the back of the net, for crying out loud. We don't want any funny business. But again, he's not the only option as well. Benjamin Sesko, Jonathan David, all realistic options for Chelsea. So then we pop the question, we ask about Osimhen, we look at Gyökeres. Why do you not feel like those players are going to happen? So we're going to talk about each individual player. And I want to know your views on it as well, guys. We're going to start off with Liam Delap, who I think is the most realistic option for Chelsea, if I'm honest with you. I think he's probably our number one, to be honest with you. I think when we're looking at a player, I think that Liam Delap is the number one. Okay, he's got Premier League experience. He's played under Enzo Maresca before. He's been good at Ipswich. Like, there's no real complaints about Delap, other than the fact that you would argue it's underwhelming to sign him instead of Gyökeres or Osimhen. Okay, so that I can appreciate. Now, why is Liam Delap good if we just hone in on that player to start? The first thing, and we already know that the age is a huge factor when we sign players, he's 22 years old. Okay, he's 22 years old. He's English. He's won a few trophies as well. Some at Man City. Born in Winchester. These are his stats from this season. And you can see, played a lot of games, a lot of experience, which is what you want from any player that you sign. You don't want a player you sign when you're injured, which is what we did with Lavia. We signed a very injury. Actually, no, Lavia was that Lavia injured when we signed him? I think he was injured, I think Lavia was injured when we signed him. So it's nice to know that he's active and he hasn't had too many injury problems as far as I'm aware. Otherwise, he wouldn't have played 28 games. Within those 28 games, he's had 10 goals, 2 assists, 9 yellow cards. He's been in the starting 11 93% of the time, but he's played 84% of minutes available. He has been involved in 43% of the goals that Ipswich have scored in the Premier League. And I'm not sure if that's just games that he's been involved in as a whole, or if that's 43% of all of Ipswich's goals. And if it's the latter, then that's even more impressive. FA Cup, he's definitely not played 28 times in the FA Cup, that's for sure. Maybe he just didn't play. I'm going to guess that was the case. Carabao Cup, nothing? Okay, maybe he didn't play in those competitions. Now, what is worrying about this is the amount of yellow cards he picks up. But I also want to just highlight that I actually think this highlights one of Delap's best qualities. Okay. And this is something we ask for all the time. But in the modern day, it's very difficult to find players who is on that fine line. Okay. The fine line between being a little bit dirty, a little bit naughty, causing problems, but not enough to get a straight red, not enough to get banned for a couple of matches. Okay. And this is what you want from all of your players, to be quite frank. Now, we speak about Levi Colwell, who's a different position, obviously, but a good example in this case. And Colwell is a player that we know likes to get stuck in. Okay. He's happy to have a little bit of a scuffle, have a push and a shove. But I don't think he's intelligent with the way he does it. I don't think he's smart in that sense. I think that's actually one of Colwell's weaknesses, because mentally you can see once he's on a yellow card, we're all thinking, oh my days, he could get another yellow here. And like you can see it's going to happen, right? I don't know if it has happened. I don't think it has, but you feel that way. At least I feel that way watching Colwell at times this season. With Delap, he is the epitome of someone who's going to cause you issues. But again, no red cards, no second yellows. All right. So I don't have a problem with a player racking up yellow cards if I know that they're going to produce an output and cause problems for the other team. The way Delap bullied our defense when we played against Ipswich, I think that was the first game of the new year or the last game of 2024. Can't remember off the top of my head. Why have I lost my head? Why have I lost the plot? I've been given brown envelopes to prop this garbage. You're better than this. You're embarrassing yourself. Not really sure how that works. I don't think you watch much of my content. I mean, I probably call out the ownership and the club more than anything. I'm just talking about a player here. But you do you, my friend. Anyway, so I think in that sense, when you look at what he's doing, he's on the cusp, and that is the balance that we need, guys. That's the balance that we need. We need a player who's going to cause more problems for defenders and still be part of the matches. Okay, I don't have a problem with you picking up a yellow card. I don't have an issue with it. So for that reason, I think Delap's. Look, I'm quite happy with his stats. He's playing with the third worst team in the league, and he's got 12 GA. I mean, that's probably up to 13 GA unless they've updated it, because he just scored today against Bournemouth as well. Tell me if I'm right or wrong. What can he do with a better team? And I think he can do an awful lot better, because it's difficult to play for a relegation side and score lots of goals. If Delap finishes the season on more than 15 goals, that's an exceptional season. And I don't understand how Chelsea fans can be out there and not appreciate the signing of Delap. I don't see how you can't appreciate that. If you don't appreciate it, that's fine. But you tell me another player that we bring in, and then you tell me why we bring him in, and another club don't sign that player. Victor Gyökeres is a great example. If we're competing against Arsenal for Victor Gyökeres, we know they have Champions League football. We know they need a striker as well. It's not just us that need a striker. And, I think Gyökeres would fit into what they're doing quite well, just like he'd fit into what we're doing well. But then you've also got the wages. I think Arsenal pay Gyökeres more than we pay. We cap our players. So that's the first one. We don't have that issue with Delap. All right. This guy is on about 40 grand a week, 30 grand a week. He's not on a lot of money, 40 grand or something like that. So you can double his wage, you can triple his wage if you're feeling generous. And he still fits very much into our project in that respect. And yeah, I'm a fan. I am a fan. If we're honing in a little bit more, let's look at this season. It's also good to look at when he does play. Is he scoring over a short period, or is he scoring consistently? This is another important thing to look at. And you can see that Delap's goals are spread out. And I'm happy with that, because we loved Jadon Sancho at the beginning of the season. He had a couple of assists. He got a goal against Tottenham, whatever it was. And then there was nothing. With Delap, different story. And I'm seeing individual goals in individual games. All right, he got 2 against Villa. That's fine. But This is not a guy who gets a hat-trick and then is quiet for 7 weeks, all right? He's getting a goal. Yeah, of course, you're going to have dry periods. What striker doesn't have that? But, again, this is another thing that I really like. Goal against Fulham, 1-2. Third game, he gets 2 goals. Scores against West Ham as well. Scores against Brentford. Tottenham, how many games is he at? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Scores again. Scores in the following game. 1, 2, 3, 4. Scores again. 1, 2, 3, 4. Scores again. So, we're talking about our strikers having goal droughts of 10 games or more. He hasn't had that at all. The most games that Delap hasn't scored in a row is 7. Apart from that, it's generally not more than 4 or 5. So this is a player that I can get behind. I really can. And when you look at the release clause as well, which is really important, this is a realistic deal. And I don't know why Chelsea fans don't like realism. Just because I'm being realistic doesn't make me a brown envelope, guys. I mean, Jesus. I don't know where that comes from. But his release clause is tied to Ipswich being relegated. And it's in the region of £40 million. Now, there is competition between Man United, Chelsea, Liverpool, Newcastle, and City, who have a buyback option. This is reported by Chris Wheeler, Nathan Salt, and El Morgan. I have no idea who they are. But who knows? Is there truth to it? I think so. I think that there's certainly interest from other clubs. How serious they are, again, another thing. But I think we're the most serious out of all those clubs. Let's look at Man City. Why would Liam Delap choose Chelsea over Man City? Let's just presume that we have Champions League football. Let's presume that. He would go to Chelsea because you get more game time. All right? You're not playing ahead of Haaland. Who are you going to beat to the starting 11? Are you going to beat Haaland or Jackson? So Delap would obviously more confident that he could make things work at Chelsea. So City out of the equation straight away. Newcastle, I think that they will keep Alexander Isak. I don't think that he'll be sold. Okay, I think that Alexander Isak is going to stay at Newcastle. That's my opinion. I'm not overhyping him though. What's wrong with just talking about a player in a positive light? I've not said he's going to be the best player since sliced bread. What is wrong with people have a bit of positivity sometimes? I mean, I'm negative, don't get me wrong, but fucking hell. Brighten up, people. Again, Newcastle, I think they're going to keep Alexander Isak. For that reason, I don't think they're going for Liam Delap. Liverpool, they need to get rid of Nunes. Okay. I do think that Delap could be an interesting player for Liverpool. Again, he's a relatively cheap buy. He's a young player with experience who can cause a lot of problems. That is a player. That's a club I could potentially see him going to. United, totally out of the picture. They don't even have European football. So I see it being between Chelsea and Liverpool if I had to pick 2 clubs. But then Liverpool would probably look to offload Nunes. Can they do it? Who knows? So I think this is a deal that Chelsea can get done ultimately. And then for that reason, we're going there. And again, I'm going to say this as well. I am absolutely happy if we sign Delap. I'm not saying that I prefer him over Gorkarez or Osterman. I'm not saying that. But I can be content with that signing because I think he improves Chelsea. Okay. And if you're going to look at how does he improve the squad, all right, our current 2 strikers are Mark Guiu and Jackson. So then to bring Delap into the fold is clearly an upgrade on Mark Guiu. So you have 2 competent strikers there. And then you could probably put Guiu on loan to maybe a championship side, potentially Strasbourg, or even a Premier League side. Who knows? So that's Liam Delap for you. So if we were going to give that player a rating, I give that signing. What would I give that out of 10? I give that signing an 8 out of 10. That's a thumbs up from me. I don't have a problem with signing Liam Delap. You got to remember, guys, this is not 2005 where Chelsea have 3 of the best players in every single position. There is competition for players now, and you've got to attract players. And I don't know what Chelsea are doing that that Arsenal can't offer at the moment, for example, or Man City can't offer. So we have to also be realistic. But I think Delap chooses Chelsea over other teams. I think that is realistic. So 8 out of 10. Wages work, transfer fee works. He's a good age. He's a good position. He's good at his position. He's got Premier League experience. He's worked with Maresca before. And he embodies a lot of the qualities that I want to see in a striker. So maybe even I'd stretch to a 9 out of 10. Let's move on to Jonathan David. Let me know in the comments if you agree or disagree. I see quite a few people don't like the signing of Delap, which is fair. Jonathan David is 25, so a couple years older than Liam Delap. He plays in Ligue 1 for Lille. This season in Liga, he has made 25 appearances. He scored 14 goals and he's got 3 assists, 4 yellow cards. If you look at the Champions League, 10 appearances, 7 goals, 2 assists. That's impressive, to be fair. Is that the... Right, this is the group stages, and then this is the qualifier? Oh, it's qualifiers. Okay. Yeah, really good stats in Europe. And played for France as well. Done well in France, actually. Got 3 assists. So, yeah, really impressive numbers from Jonathan David. Better than Delap by quite a long way. He's played less games. He's scored more goals. He's got more assists. He's performed in Europe to a very high level. He's performed in the international stage as well. His record in terms of cards is better than Delap. Delap has 9 cards in the league. Jonathan David only has 4, so a slightly less aggressive player, but still very much able to do what we need from a striker, which is score goals. The creativity is basically the same in that respect. Starting in 78% of the games that Lille play, he's involved in 82% of the minutes available. And again, 41% of the goals that they score are coming from Jonathan David, which is about the same as Liam Delap at Ipswich. So that number's not different. They're both very dependent on their strikers to score goals, which you would expect, right? You would expect that. He's Canadian. Is that his citizen? Well, something like that. His value is currently 45 million. This is another reason why the deal's interesting, guys, is this is a player that we can get on free. Okay. So let's weigh up Delap versus Jonathan David. Let's just weigh them up. What do you get from Liam Delap? You get a younger player. You get a player with Premier League experience who's played under the manager, who brings qualities to your team that you might not get from Nicholas Jackson, okay, but still causes problems. With Jonathan David, I mean, to put it bluntly, you get a transfer fee which is 40 million less than what you would pay for Liam Delap. So just with that alone, you're saying, hang on a second, this is a no-brainer. But, I mean, my opinion is actually that we could sign both of these players. And I would be so chuffed if we could do that. Do I think we will? No. Partly because I don't think we'll finish in the Champions League places anyway. I don't believe that we will. I hope we do, but I'm struggling to see it. When I look at the teams we've got to play and the way we're playing, I just think it's going to be tough. And so without Champions League football, it's going to be very difficult to attract Jonathan David, who's had exceptional stats in the Champions League for Lille. So why would he want to drop down to to a club that isn't playing in the Champions League? I will get to Sesko, Daniel. Don't worry. I will get to that. Jay says, Jonathan David never really been a proper striker to me. Good player, though. Why is that? Why do you say that? I haven't watched much of him. If Bayern Munich took and couldn't give us 70 million like Chelsea was looking for, would you take the money and get Delap? Hell yes. Oh, my God. I think that's a great deal. So, again, that's really the highlight is you're able to get a player who's valued at 45 million on a free. And if that doesn't attract you, I don't know what will. Yeah, that's why I was for the signing of Tosin. How can you criticize a free transfer? That for me is not a problem. You can criticize the fact that maybe we should have had more quality on top of that. But to bring a player like Tosin in, who I think is capable of playing for Chelsea, not as a starter every week, but to be a part of the squad, I don't have a problem with it. And I think that Tosin's been okay for us. So look, this is his Champions League stats. Again, very impressive. So look at the goals spread out nicely. That is a consistent player right there. Goals against Madrid, Atletico, Juventus, Liverpool, Feyenoord, Dortmund. Tell me this man doesn't score in big games. Okay, tell me that. And the goals he scores gets points as well. They get points from these games. If his goal won the game against Madrid, it was also the reason that they beat Atletico, the reason they were able to get a point against Juve. So he's scoring, not just scoring goals, he's scoring important goals that are winning points. Good in the qualifying stages as well. Nice and consistent. Let's look at Liga, how he's doing there. Again, spread out nicely. Little bit of a drought from the 15th game week to the 19th game week. He's picked it up a little bit. But generally speaking, you have a player who's spreading his goals out. Okay. So just like Delap, that's a thumbs up from me. That is a thumbs up. I can't speak about how Jonathan David plays as, you know, in terms of the small things. Like I've seen Delap. I've seen him. I know what he does. I haven't seen enough of Jonathan David to describe him properly. So if any of you have, then please tell us. I mean, sometimes you can't beat a good confirmation to find out about a player. He's a penalty taker as well for Lille. Nothing wrong with having a good pen taker. Delap is also a penalty taker. Nice finish with his left foot. Yeah, beautiful. So stats aren't everything, but there's something. Like that's one of the things I can measure any player by, and you know, learn a little bit about them without actually watching them. But it is nice to sometimes look at the players and just say, "Oh, okay, that's how he looks when he plays." One thing as well we're seeing with Jonathan David is lots of first-time finishes, and he's also finishing with both feet. He's finishing with his left. He's finishing with his right. That's a great pen. Love that. He's able to carry the ball. Doesn't strike me as a massively fast striker. He's got enough pace, but he just seems to know what to do. So he makes up for that lack of pace that maybe Jackson has, with just good decision making. Again, another left-footed goal. This is something we don't have at the moment. So you get the gist, guys. You get the gist. Okay. So yeah, Jonathan David, from my opinion, what I've seen, again, people are going, "Oh, I want Osimhen." Well, sometimes in life you can't have exactly what you want. I'm not exactly going through terrible options here. I'm not saying that Chelsea are scouting Christian Benteke, all right, or whoever the fuck. Right, I'm not saying that. We're not signing these. We're not signing bums here. These are good players, and I would say that they are capable and they are good enough for Chelsea. I would absolutely be good enough. Don't fucking kid yourself. Have you seen who we got at the moment? So both of those players improved the squad. Both of them. Me personally, I'm going to give Jonathan David, again, 8 out of 10. They're both solid signings. What does Jonathan David bring? He brings goals, more experience, European experience, ability to finish with both feet. He's a free transfer. Don't have to pay a penny for Jonathan David. So you will end up giving him a bigger contract like we did with Tosin. Because when Tosin actually originally signed for Chelsea on a free, it's on 120 grand a week. That was more than Cole Palmer at the time. So when Palmer got his extension, he went up to 130, which is still a nice pay rise. But yeah, Jonathan David would probably end up giving a pretty nice contract too. Probably more than both of those players if it's a free transfer. I'm not sure what he's on at the moment. Does anyone know what Jonathan David's wage is at the moment? What is his salary? Apparently, his salary is 37,500 a week. That's rubbish. That can't be right. Jesus, that's right. He earns 36 grand. Fuck, he's on less money than Delap. Oh my God, this is brilliant. 36,000 pounds a week, 1.8 million a year. Oh God, no wonder we're looking at this guy. You know, when I look at players like this, and there are deals that I look at with Chelsea and I think, what are you doing? Are you stupid? Garnacho is one of them. And I actually want to just apologize because I was open to signing Garnacho at one point. I thought, if we can get him on a good price and a good wage, let's do it. But I just think, you know what? Ultimately, that was poor for me. I put my hands up. Garnacho is not the man for Chelsea. Lewis, I'm sorry. I'm sorry I even entertained the idea. I never said I loved him, but I entertained the idea. Absolutely not. So you're telling me we can get Jonathan David potentially on, I don't know, let's just say 100, 120, around the mark that we're looking for. We can triple his salary, if not quadruple his salary. I think it's fantastic. I think that's absolutely fantastic for us. Again, so you look at the factors, financially viable, good enough. Jonathan David's more proven than Delap is. He's more of a proven player, but he is not proven in the Premier League. And that's one of the question marks that you can have. Any player that comes into the Prem that's not playing there. Badia Shield's a good example. Disasi's a good example. You know, players that come in were performing well in France, not necessarily able to cut it at Chelsea. Although I say that, I think Disasi's been all right at Aston Villa. Maybe it's just a Chelsea problem. So yeah, me personally, thumbs up for Delap, thumbs up for Jonathan David. Let's move on to Benjamin Sesko. Let's move on to Benjamin Sesko. We've got about 27 minutes left on this show, so we've got enough time. Okay. Let's have a look. Benjamin Sesko. I'm missing my dinner for you lot. I want you to know that. My girlfriend's getting angry in the background. Right. Benjamin Sesko, 21 years old. Very young player. Very tall player as well. Played for Slovenia. He's from Slovenia. All right. What has he done this season? Where's he been? This is the German Cup. 3 appearances, 3 goals, 1 assist. It's a good start. The Bundesliga, 26 appearances, 10 goals, 5 assists, so 15 GA in 26. It's over a 50% conversion rate per game. Champions League, 8 appearances, 4 goals. It's, yeah. Now, my opinion is that this is probably a player that he would be last on this list for me. I'm not against signing Sesko. I haven't seen enough of him to really judge. He's young, just like Delap. They're basically the same age. But again, he's got no experience in the Premier League. And why are more people not talking about this guy? Why is his name not coming up in more conversations? Like, this is something that you always have to think about with players. Everybody's talking about Osimhen and Gyökeres. They are the hot property this summer. But nobody's talking about Sesko. People are mentioning Delap because it's realistic. People are talking about David because he's on a free. Nobody's talking about Sesko. Why? Arsenal have also been linked with this guy as well. I don't know enough about Benjamin Sesko. I mean, let's have a look. Oh, he scored that goal as well a few months ago. Do you remember that really, really hard shot? He can hit it hard. And he's got a good header of the ball. This is something that you won't get from Victor Gyökeres, for example. Not a great header of the ball. Looks nice technically as well. Good technique. Very tall striker. This is a nice aerial threat to have. Getting in the right positions. Yeah. Keeper probably should have done better. That's the goal. Oh, what a crack that is. Now, we are definitely missing that, people. Goals like that. Oh, first time finish. That's nice. Just a good striker's. Yeah, just a good striker. He's on 106 grand a week. Much higher than Jonathan David and Liam Delap. We're on 27 likes, Daniel says. Smash the like button. We've got almost 50 of you in it. Let's get up to 45 likes on the video, guys. Smash the like button. Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest with you. Again, like, you can't judge videos like that. You can't judge them. Like, you have to watch the player more. But just looking at the stats that we've seen, the wages as well is obviously going to be a factor, and the transfer fee. How much is Benjamin Sesko worth in the current market? He is worth 65 million, apparently. 65 million euros. So ask yourself this question. You've got a free transfer who's on 37 grand a week. You've got a release clause of 40 million who's on a similar salary, who's Premier League proven. And then you've got a player like Sesko who's on 108 grand a week. And his stats, I'm not going to sit here and say his stats are 10 times better than the other two players. Because, again, I'm going to give context to everything. When you look at what he's done, Delap scored, what was it, about 10 as well in 28, and he had 2 assists, but he's playing for a relegation team, one of the worst teams in the league. Sesko's playing for one of the better teams in Leipzig. So I would expect those stats to be around that mark, if not higher. So that's not impressive to me. That's what you should do. But anyway, he's been involved in the starting 11 89% of the time. He's played 79% of the minutes available. He's been sent off once with a second yellow. But generally speaking, his discipline is actually pretty good. It's actually better than both of the other players. And he's been involved in 37% of the goals scored in the Bundesliga for Leipzig. So, yeah, it's not bad. It's not bad. But I'm not as impressed with Sesko. For me, Sesko, I'm not going to sit here and say thumbs down, but I'm not massively keen on this guy. I'm not massively keen. Let's look at how he spread everything out over the course of the season. He had a very quiet start. In the first 12 games, he scored 3 goals. And then he had a great run of games. So he's picked it up. Me personally, look, he's obviously a good player, but I'm not as impressed, to be quite frank. I'm not as impressed. He won't fit in. He doesn't have enough yellow cards to qualify for Chelsea. You need to average at least 5 yellows. Our yellow cards this season are high. That's one way of looking at it. Sesko's a lot better last season. What was his stats last season? I heard a lot more about Sesko last season as well. So that makes sense. Really? I mean, it's all right, but seems to always have, quiet starts to the season. And then he gets better as the season goes on. Like, I'll share my screen with you again. "31 games in the Bundesliga, 14 goals, 2 assists, about 50% GA. It's pretty good. Champions League scored a couple. In the Cup, he scored a couple. So 42 games, 18, 20 GA in total. Just under 50% conversion. Now, this is what is actually quite interesting is look at the start to the season he had. I just mentioned earlier he had a bit of a quiet spell this season. This is last season. Quiet as anything. 3 goals in how many games? 3 goals in 18. Not good. But then look at the bounce back. And from game week 19 up until game week 34, that's where he racked up a lot of his goals. And that for me is a good quality, to be fair. I like players that grow into seasons. I think it's always a good thing to finish better than you started. This is the argument that we have a lot with Pochettino and Maresca. Would you rather have a great start or a great finish? I would argue you want to have a great finish. Obviously, you want to have a great everything. I'm just saying, if you had to pick, what would you pick? And I think that it's a big morale boost to have a team that finish well, even if it didn't start off well, because you finish the season with some satisfaction that you clawed your way back. You've got that fighting spirit. You're able to finish better than you started. Like in any game, you'd always rather come back from being down than lead a game and then bottle it or risk bottling it. I think it's just a better feeling, isn't it? It gives you more. I don't want to say pride. Pride's maybe not the right word, but yeah, actually, that's quite impressive last season. I have to say, but still not enough to convince me because I'm looking at this season. I mean, it came from Red Bull Salzburg. He had 79 games and 29 goals. That is, yes, it is impressive. I totally agree with you, Byron. I think that Maresca's coaching has hindered an awful lot of our players, and a number of our players have regressed compared to last season. I think that Reece James is regressing. in terms of what he can do in his best position and the way we're playing him. I think that Cole Palmer's regressing compared to what he could do if he's played on the right. I think that Malo Gusto is regressing. I think our goalkeeping department has regressed massively under Maresca. I think Jackson came out really strong and actually has got worse as the season's gone by. So people try and say that Maresca improved Jackson. That's why he had this great start. If he was improving, he would get gradually better and better. That's how it works. You don't start well and finish worse. That means you're getting worse over the course of a season, by definition. So, yeah, there's a number of things that Maresca can do. I do think that Maresca handled Mudryk very well when he was there. I think Maresca's been good with Cucurella. I think Fernandez has improved an awful lot. There's obviously positives. There's always positives. It's just, are there more positives than negatives? That's the question you ask. And if one outweighs the other, then your decision should be made. I personally think Maresca has done more to regress us in a lot of ways than improve. But again, that's open to interpretation. The truth is, if Maresca gets us into the Champions League, I will have the patience to give him a chance next season. I will have, I'll happily put my hands up and say, you know what, fair play to you, mate. Like, I'm not a big fan, but I want you to do well. You're Chelsea's manager. It's in my interest as a fan for the club to do well. I'm not sitting here saying that I want you to lose just so you can get sacked. That's not the way I want to approach this. I may think Maresca is a clown right now. I may think that, but opinions can always change. We're looking at the Villarreal striker, apparently. Where's that come from? Who's the source? I haven't seen anything to do with the Villarreal striker. And what's the name of this striker as well? Does anyone have the name of him? Oh, Delap has 11 league goals. Sorry, not 10. Some good news for tomorrow. Maybe we'll touch on the Tottenham game a little bit, shall we? Let's touch on that. Some good news tomorrow from a Chelsea perspective. Ange Postecoglou says Dejan Kulusevski and Kevin Danso will miss the Chelsea match. Kulusevski is arguably the best player under Postecoglou this season. He really suits what Postecoglou is doing, to be fair. James Maddison is another threat. And Danso is the new centre-back that they brought in January, so it'll be good to see that they're not available. From a Chelsea perspective, I think we can be a little bit annoyed about Lavia because, Jesus, the guy's never fit. It's worrying. I mean, I've criticised Fofana, rightly so, because you can't be injured all the time. But when you look at what Lavia has done, it's not much different. It's really not that much different. It's actually worse. It is worse. Look at these. I mean, it's disgusting to look at as a Chelsea fan when you love Lavia. He's a great player, but you say to yourself, "We are counting on you. We are leaning on you." I feel the same way about Lavia as I did about Reece James when he was out last season. I knew that when James came back at the end of last season, towards that period, Chelsea would play better. And we did. We played much better. And he was a huge part of our success towards the end of the season. And Lavia was a huge part of our success towards the beginning of this season. Lavia has played 14 matches for Chelsea in 20 months. Once that gets up to 24 months, 2 years. 14 fucking games. That's 7 games a year. He started 9 games, completing 0. He's played more than 45 minutes just 7 times. Are we looking at Chelsea's Jack Wilshere, the midfield maestro who could never actually be in the midfield because he was always injured? I mean, Jesus Christ, that is not good. And this actually gives me, what's the word? Makes me appreciate why Santos will hopefully come back to Chelsea and how he'll fit in, because he will have game time. And it also makes me appreciate the signing of Asugu from Sporting to give Caicedo cover, because as it stands, Caicedo has no cover. And he's going to have to ride out the whole season on his own, unless you want to put Dewsbury Hall in there, which isn't going to happen. So, yeah, Lavia is really a problem, because you've got such a great player and you know what you're missing, but you never have it anyway. So it's, yeah. It's like that one. Oh, I'm trying to think of a good analogy here. I can't think of it. I can't think of an analogy that's not going to get me into trouble, so I'm not going to say it. Let's have a look. How long has James been fit for this season? He's played a fair few games, James, to be fair. 9 starts is shocking, isn't it? Absolutely shocking. We ain't getting Champions League. Far better teams around us. Newcastle, Forest, Villa, Man City are the only teams in the fight for UEFA Champions League. We will just fade away over the next month. Look, I hope you're wrong, but I feel like you're right. That's the truth of it. We've had a break and we've got some players back. I'm hoping that because we're playing against Tottenham and they are so bad, that will be a guaranteed win. I'm more worried about the Brentford game than the Tottenham game. I think the Brentford game is genuinely a tough match. But why do people not pay more respect to Brentford? Tottenham for me is a guaranteed 3 points. Brentford, I don't see 3 points coming our way. We beat them 2-1 in the fixture at Stamford Bridge, but that was a very difficult game to win. And moments of quality won us that game. I'm not seeing enough moments of quality. I'm not seeing enough penetrate. It's like a tongue twister. Penetrate. I'm trying to say the word. Penetrative passes that cut through. What's the word? Penetrative. Fucking hell, Alex. I need to have dinner. I'm hungry. Passes that cut through the defense. That's what I mean. The words aren't coming out. So yeah, I see us dropping points against Brentford. Warsaw, you'd expect us to win over those 2 legs. Ipswich, again, a tough game. I mean, they did just beat Bournemouth, so that puts them in a better position in terms of the Premier League, but still very much struggling over the course of, well, the idea of staying up it's not going to happen. I think they're almost certainly going down. Yeah, how many points are Ipswich on? Ipswich are on 20 points. They're 9 points behind Wolves. So they need to win 3 and hope that Wolves lose 3 more games than them as well. On top of the fact that their goal difference is horrific. They're on minus 33 compared to Wolves is minus 17. Yeah. So I think we could beat Ipswich. I'll take the win there. I will take the win there. Fulham, again, it's a tough game. It's a tough game. Fulham away. Now, we did win that game last season. Mudryk and Broha, did they score in those games? I can't remember. No, Broha. Did Broha play? I can't remember. I remember Mudryk scored last season. I see that as a difficult game to win again. Fulham, difficult one. And David Moyes, I think he's doing a great job with Everton. So that's a game we have to take seriously. But let's presume we can win that. So we get down to the final 4 games, and let's just presume that we have to win at least 2 of them and draw 1 of them. So we can afford to lose 1. Which game do you say we are losing? Me personally, I'm saying Newcastle. Total write-off. We're not winning that game. Newcastle away, we never win it. We never play well. It's a long trip. Nobody goes out there for the football. You go out there for the night out. All right, you book an Airbnb or a hotel, and you just say, right, the football's on, but I'm going out afterwards. It is what it is. So that's a write-off. I think we can beat United, and I think Liverpool is actually a realistic win as well, because I'm banking on the fact that they've already won the title. So they're going to be a little bit more chilled out. Then it comes down to the final game of the season, just like last year as well. Nottingham Forest away. And that is going to be a difficult one. That's going to be a fucking massive game. What am I having for dinner? Tim, you ask all the important questions. I am having homemade Caesar salad. Love it. It's homemade. All of it's homemade. The sauce. I've got the what are the square things called? The croutons. Bit of chicken. What else? Rachel made it. I did not make it. I was too busy streaming. So big up to Rachel. W in the chat. There you go. Pay my respects. Blue Co will milk your room with the Conference League at the end of the season. Fucking hell. Chelsea is very interesting in the race to sign Xavi Simmons. What's your thoughts on them, Alex? I say no chance. That's not happening. No chance. Bit of anchovies, yeah. No bacon, though. No bacon. Maybe next time. But yeah, Forest is going to be a massive one, guys. I mean, if we're looking at where we are at the moment, table-wise, how many points are we on? We are on 49 points, okay? And last season, we finished on 63 points, okay? So about 14 points. If we get 15 points, we beat that record. Do you think that we can get 5 wins? Basically is what I'm asking. Do you think we can get 5 wins? Do you think that those 5 wins? If I'm going to say 5 wins, Tottenham is a win. Ipswich is a win. That's 2. Everton is a win. That's 3. I'm going to say Liverpool because I'm just guessing they've won the league. United, that's 5. And then Forest is probably the decisive game because we're going to be close on points. You know, these are the kind of questions that, you know, who isn't going to celebrate winning the Conference League? Of course I'm going to celebrate it. But does that mean that it's a great achievement that we won it? No, like we'd have to try harder not to win the Conference League. It's like Celtic. You ask Celtic, are you going to celebrate winning the Scottish League, even though you win it every single year? They celebrate hard. Galatasaray, they win the Turkish League every year. They celebrate hard. PSG, loving life in France. So even if you know that you have to win the league and you can do it with your eyes closed, you still, or the competition, you still celebrate it. And honestly, I think there will be an open top bus. I think there will be. I can't criticize an open top bus. We've won a fucking European trophy. Yeah, it's Mickey Mouse Cup in comparison to others, but trophy's a trophy, isn't it? So I have nothing against the players celebrating winning silverware. They're winning it fair and square. Yes, it's too easy, but they still won it. Just like Newcastle celebrated the Carabao Cup. I wouldn't have any issues with Chelsea having an open top bus. But don't act like you have achieved something incredible, because you haven't. You've won the trophy that anyone could have won. West Ham won it. If West Ham can win the Conference League and Chelsea don't win it this season, then I think it might be time for me to relocate. Honestly, I think I've spent enough time in this country if that's the case. Your bet is silly. We'll get a points deduction before the season ends, and that's how we get into the Champions League. Pathetic way, but better than no Champions League. Hey, Michael, I like your thinking. Who knows? I'll take that because I despise Man City. It is a European trophy. If we don't get 63 or more points than last season, the sporting directors will look stupid. Does finishing with lower than 63 mean we've improved or worsened? It means we've got worse. If we plateau, it means we've got worse, right? If you're not improving, you are getting worse. Because it's like this. Let's just say You lift weights in the gym, all right? You've gone from 5 kilograms to 10 to 20, and then the next stage is 25, and you just stay at 20 forever. It's easy. You've already done it. You know you can do it. You need to push on, and then you can grow. That's progression. So no, we need to see more. We need to see much higher points tally. If we're not getting a much higher points tally, it's very difficult to say we've improved. But again, we'll see what happens. Listen, guys, big up to everyone that's been watching. I'm having my dinner now. My anchovies, my croquets, what would you call them? Croutons, and my chicken. All right. Big up to all of you. Enjoy your evening. I will be back tomorrow at 1 o'clock for the preview. And enjoy the rest of your evening, guys.